All right, we all know what we're here for, Engineering on Tap, student perspectives on next level engineering. If anyone has not yet had a chance to put their major, their graduation year, and their location into the chat, please do. And we'll just keep a record of where everyone's joining us from. I guess I should start by introducing myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Freesia. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations and Network Strategy for the College of Engineering, and I am so glad that you all could join us this afternoon. It is always a pleasure to get our College of Engineering community together, and tonight is no exception, especially during National Engineers Week. So happy E-Week, everybody. I know that I am really excited to see some familiar names in the audience, and a very warm welcome to any of those who are new to our Engineering on Tap series. We're so glad that you could join us. All right, I'm going to share some quick housekeeping notes with you all. So we'll go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. This event is being recorded, as some of you heard as you joined the announcement there. We are going to post it on the College of Engineering's YouTube channel next week. So if you hear something you think someone else would like to know, please feel free to share that with them. If you have any questions during our panel, you can submit those to me directly via the chat. And at the end of the panel, we'll have an open Q&A session where I can relay those questions to our panelists. Or at that point, you can also raise your hand and ask a question live as time permits. And finally, do make sure you stick around till the end of our event to be part of a raffle for two $25 e-gift cards to the UC Davis bookstore, and to participate in our breakout rooms so that we can speak more in depth together with each other and with our panelists. Something new we're doing this Engineering on Tap, and we're really excited about it. All right, that is it for the nuts and bolts. So Darian, you can go ahead and take our slides down, and I'll get started with our program. So in just a few minutes, Dean Corsi will share more about the college's strategic vision and how we are incorporating cutting-edge research with our educational mission. Then Dean Corsi will moderate a panel discussion with our three fabulous students, Estaina Resendiz Ortiz, Charlotte Stevens, and Jayneel Vora, who will each share about their engineering journeys, their inspirations, and their aspirations. But first, I'm going to give us a little UC Davis overall background. So, did you know that UC Davis is considered an R1 or a Tier 1 research university? And that this is the highest tier of research universities in the United States. And actually, you may have seen recently in the news that UC Merced just received this designation as well, making all of the UCs in the system R1 research universities, which is really impressive because it's a prestigious designation, and it basically means that in addition to our commitment to impactful teaching, UC Davis scholars are also conducting groundbreaking and innovative research that's pioneering significant contributions to the academic field. And when I say UC Davis scholars, likely faculty and research staff come immediately to mind, but I am also talking about our robust community of student researchers. Because not only does UC Davis have a high number of doctoral graduates, but 50% of our undergraduate students conduct research and creative projects beyond the classroom. And this is particularly true for the College of Engineering. We're consistently ranked among the top engineering schools in the nation, and the College of Engineering is a leader in research that addresses some of the world's most important challenges. Our faculty are national and international authorities in critical areas, and they are highly recognized by their peers and their students for their teaching and mentoring skills. So over the past few years, the college has developed and embraced the next level strategic vision to highlight and amplify our capacity for innovation and leadership among faculty and students. And so tonight, we'll see how this strategic vision impacts our students, especially in opening doors to research and hands-on learning experiences. With that, Dean Corsi, will you tell us more about the college's mission and vision before kicking off our panel questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Erin. And I'll add to what Erin said, whereas at UC Davis, about 50% of our students, undergraduate students, get some research experience. In the College of Engineering, I believe it's over 70% now. So we're doing our part to lift that up to over 50%. And that's really important for our students. I think doing research is an important part of the educational experience for undergraduate students. So our mission is, as stated on our website, is creating a sustainable world through socially responsible engineering, inspiring education, and transformative research. Keywords there are sustainable and socially responsible engineering, I think, and we try to infuse that not only in our research, but also in the classroom. Our core value is engineering for all, and there's a subtext to that, which is leave no community behind. So we want to create engineers that recognize their impact that they have on all people around the world, all peoples in our community, as well as our planet. We developed a strategic research and education vision my first year and a half or so as dean. Our strategic research vision involved a grassroots effort where we had faculty getting together for about a year and talking, and we had charrettes with 8 faculty around the table for 3 hours, and we had 8 of those, and we had surveys, and we had all sorts of feedback. And we ended up with 4 major thematic areas that we think we want to be leaders in. And these are the areas that we're investing in. You can't invest in everything, and so you have to choose what you can invest in. Those areas are revolutionizing energy systems. That's the first one. The second is strengthening climate resilience. The third is transforming mobility. And the fourth is advancing human health. And so where we've been able to invest in more faculty in those areas, invest in infrastructure in those areas, invest in new partnerships in those areas, those are the areas that we're investing in. We have a deep commitment to providing impactful research opportunities for not just our graduate students, but our undergraduate students, as I said. And in terms of education, we've developed a pretty detailed education vision, and there's, I think, 11 action items on the education vision. We've started or completed 6 of the 11 in the last year and a half or so, and we continue to move on those. There are things like providing more research experiences for undergraduate students, communicating more with our undergraduate students about all the wonderful things happening in the college, developing a sense of community, developing a sense of being an engineer, if you will, right? It's kind of the engineering identity. And so we have an education vision with 3 important I's. One is inspiring education, not just teaching students, but trying to inspire students. The second is impactful education, so that our students leave here ready to go out and do great things in the world. And the third is an inclusive education. So that's, Erin, that's the answer to our vision and our mission, and what we try to do. And those are the areas that we do our best to invest in. But I really want to hear from the students now, because I think that's why everybody else is here. I'm not a student anymore. So we're going to hear directly from the students, and I'm going to ask each of our students that are here with us to introduce themselves, to tell us your name, and tell us what year you're in right now. Tell us your major, and then if you're willing to go out on a limb, tell us who your favorite engineering professor or advisor is. And we'll start with, how about Charlotte?
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm currently a 3rd-year mechanical engineering major, and my favorite engineering professor would probably be Dr. Gilchrist, because I work with him, so I know him really well. But in terms of professors I've actually taken a class with, probably Dr. Bassan. I took statics with him last year, and he had really engaging lectures and explained things really well and was just a really great professor.
Great, thank you, Charlotte. Let's go with Estaina.
course. Hello, everybody. My name is Estaina Resendiz Ortiz. I am a third-year aerospace engineering student here, along with a minor in political science. I'm from the Bay Area, and I would say, likewise as Charlotte, my favorite professor would be that I've worked under is Professor Sanjay, as I'm under his laboratory as well. And I got to take dynamics with him. And it was a wonderful way to get into the mindset of what it looks like for like spacecraft and applicable to my major. So I really enjoyed seeing that different perspective.
Thank you, Estaina. And Jayneel, who's our graduate student on the panel.
Hello, I'm Jayneel Vora. I graduated with my PhD in computer science this December 2024. And as a PhD candidate, my favorite professor or advisor has to be my research advisor, Prasant Mohapatra, and a special shout out to Professor Matt Bishop from the CS department.
Yeah, thank you, Jayneel. We talked a little bit about undergraduate research experiences and certainly graduate students doing research. So I'd like to talk a little bit more now about your research experiences. Again, starting with Charlotte, you mentioned that I think you work in the Gilchrist lab. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been there for about a year and a half.
Great. Can you tell us what led you to pursue biomedical research as a mechanical engineer, and what did you learn?
Yeah, so I actually came into UC Davis as a biomedical engineering major. So I first got involved with research the summer after my freshman year at UT Austin because I live in Austin, so I was home for the summer and volunteered in a lab there, and I really enjoyed it. And so I knew I wanted to continue doing research when I got back to Davis. So I started emailing professors over the summer. Dr. Gilchrist responded, and he was just getting his lab set up. So I think I've gotten a lot of unique experiences in that because with a new lab, there's so many little things we need done, and there's so many protocols that I'm working on that are kind of laying the fundamental parts of the lab. And the Gilchrist lab works with biomaterials and to study stem cell aging, specifically hematopoietic stem cells, which are the stem cells in your bone marrow that make blood and immune cells. So over the last year and a half, I've gotten to do a lot of different projects, all kind of centering around establishing basic protocols for culturing hematopoietic stem cells. But something I've really enjoyed is that even though during my time in the lab, I changed my major from biomedical to mechanical engineering, I've still been able to kind of explore the more medical side of things. And working in that lab specifically with studying biomaterials, we are also looking at mechanical cues from the bone marrow niche. And it's really interesting to see how all of these different things fit together. So even though biomedical cell research can seem kind of separated from mechanical engineering, I do think they all fit together. And I think working in that research lab has been really cool, and it's kind of shown me what I can do beyond just being in school, and kind of shown me some of the opportunities for when I graduate.
Yeah, that's great. And Aidan Gilchrist, who's Dr. Gilchrist, is an early career faculty member. He's been with us for maybe 2 years now, and he's already made this huge impact. When my first 3 years as dean of the College of Engineering, I think we had a 23% turnover of our faculty. We had a lot of senior faculty retiring, and we were able to hire a huge number of amazing early career faculty members. And we hate to see folks retire. At the same time, that's an opportunity to bring people in like Aidan that bring this sort of fresh view and new technologies and new ideas to the college. So let's go to Jayneel next. Tell us about your journey to earn your PhD degree. What was that journey like? How did being at UC Davis in particular influence your research and your experiences and where you are now?
Oh, absolutely. A PhD journey towards eventful and fulfilling. I think I've experienced everything CS before figuring out the problem I really wanted to solve during the PhD. And when I say that, I worked in econometrics, machine learning for health, cybersecurity, in election engineering, and then finally came to generative AI, which I wanted to spend the next 3 years on. So my PhD was on like trustworthy and efficient Gen AI, which answers two main questions. One is, can we hold them accountable for the data that they use? And the second is, can we reduce the memory footprint so that we can run it on cheaper and resource-constrained devices? And that research that I did at UC Davis allowed me to get a really good job at Intel right now, where I am working on Intel AI PCs. So that was a link there. And even during my collaboration phases, I was collaborating with UC Davis Health and Lawrence Berkeley National Lab with Professor Sean Piesert, which really fostered that network that I was trying to build of mentors for myself. And even after that exploratory phase, I was funded by the Army Research Lab with Professor Mohapatra, which again let me build that network of peers and mentors, which has helped me, push myself towards the PhD. And all along that, UC Davis, that network that we have within COE, the College of Engineering, through the speaker series or the research program, really pushes it to make it a really fulfilling journey at the end.
Yeah, great. I'm going to ask you about the e-search program in a little bit, I think. So we'll hold that off till then. But are you at Intel in Silicon Valley or up in Oregon, or where are you?
Oh, up in Oregon right now.
You're up in Hillsboro.
Yes.
Great, great. Estaina, can you tell us about your work as an undergraduate researcher? And I believe the Rascal Lab, and maybe you can tell us what Rascal stands for. What led you to pursue robotics research, and what have you learned through your research so far?
Course. RASCL stands for Robotics Autonomous Systems Controls Laboratory. It's run under Professor Sanjay Joshi. Apologies for not fully saying the name previously. And lately, my team and I have been focusing on the intersection of robotics and cognitive science and what that really entails. So we're looking specifically at robotic behavior and how when a robot and a human have interaction or collaboration, how that trust that a robot emits towards this collaboration affects the overall relationship or collaboration that's happening. It's a really interesting intersection, not only in engineering, but also in the STEM field, as we're working with my peers are psychology and cognitive science majors. So I get to learn so much more of like the overall hemisphere of STEM and see how engineering can be a part of almost everything. So I've really enjoyed it, and we're currently getting started to start our experimental phase. Fingers crossed, and see what that entails with our results, and hopefully entering the undergraduate research conference that we have here annually.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think a lot of people think of robots, they think, oh, that's engineering stuff. And as you just said, it's really an interdisciplinary field, and opportunities in the robotics field to work with people that are in the cognitive sciences and psychology, et cetera. So I'm glad that you're having that experience. I think that is a great experience that oftentimes engineering students don't have, and that is working with those in other fields. So happy to hear that. All right. So I know I think you've all been involved with programs and clubs, I think, that exemplify the values of our next level education vision, to be inspired and inclusive and impactful, to be able to learn and be inspired outside of the classroom as well as in the classroom. And I'd like to ask you a few questions about those experiences, and we'll start with you, Estaina. Can you tell us about programs you've been involved with? Like, I think you've been involved with Engineering Ambassadors and the Leader program, and how those programs have impacted you and your fellow students' engineering experiences, but particularly you.
Of course. As an engineering ambassador, we are under the College of Engineering and get to represent our amazing program that we have through different tours and our events. Specifically in E-Week, we actually just had Pizza with professors, and it was really exciting to network with not only the students, but the professors. So as an engineering ambassador, I would say it's been most impactful to network with other people and get to know the community I'm in, because everyone is so amazing, and one little conversation can spark an entire new pathway or journey that I hadn't thought of previously. So as an ambassador, I would say that's been most impactful for myself. But through the Leader program, there's been so many amazing opportunities as well. Leader stands for Leadership in Engineering, Advancement, Diversity, and Retention. And it's a wonderful community. It's in Kemper Hall, where I believe Dean Corsi's office is. And it's first of all, we have a study center where I think it's beautiful because all students can come together and study. It reminds me that I'm not alone in struggling sometimes in my classes or getting through a homework session, but that all of us are also going through it and having similar connections as first generation, diverse culturally backgrounded students really reminds me that we can do it. Maybe right now I don't feel like I can do it, but I have that support system to remind me that I can do this, and we'll get to it. So I definitely would say the support system and the resources have been most impactful from Leader.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Estaina. I think Leader has a living learning community in
I
one of it's
do.
Kearney Hall, right? Or it's one of the dorms. So
Kearney Hall, yes. I got to stay in the living learning community as well my freshman year.
that's great. I think it's so important to have that sense of community, especially in your first year as a student and at university. So, and you mentioned professors with pizza. So I volunteered for that, and I'm a vegan, so I was assigned to try to hand out vegan pizza. And at the end of my time working the pizza line, I still had a full pizza at the end. So nobody wanted the pizza I was serving, but at least there was lots of wonderful conversations along the way. Yeah. All right, let's go to Charlotte. Can you tell us about your involvement with activities like Women Machinist Club and how that's impacted your UC Davis experience?
Yeah, so there's a few clubs that I've been involved with at UC Davis. The Women Machinist Club specifically, I think is a really fun one because it's a very hands-on club. It's not really as meeting based. We don't do like weekly meetings or anything. We just try to do like one machining workshop each quarter. And I've really enjoyed this because it gives you a lot of hands-on experience on things I don't know if I would necessarily otherwise have the opportunity to do. Some of the workshops we've done, we just had a welding workshop the last 2 Fridays over at the Western Center, which was really cool. It's really exciting. There's a few classes, but I know specifically within engineering, it can be hard to fit classes just for fun into your schedule. So it was really cool to have an opportunity to just take a few hours and learn a new skill. And one of my favorite parts of it is having a physical thing you can take home with you afterwards. Um, Last year, we also did a woodworking workshop where we got to use saws and assemble and make these little wooden crates. So I think that club has been really fun. It's also nice to have just like a supportive environment for women and other marginalized gender identities to have a space to learn. We don't really require any experience for any of our workshops, so you can go in with no knowledge and come out with a new skill and something you made that you can be proud of and you can use. So I think that's been really fun. I'm also involved in the Biomedical Engineering Society here, which I think is another great club. They provide a lot of different opportunities depending on what you're interested in. We have research events like lab tours, which is really cool to see what type of research is happening on campus. And then we also have a wonderful industry coordinator who organizes tours with companies sometimes or panels, which are really helpful. I had the chance to go visit Penumbra a few weeks ago, which was really cool to see an actual medical devices company, and they have manufacturing on site. So, it's just a really good experience to see. We also got to meet a lot of UC Davis alumni there. So it was cool to see what career paths there are based on what I'm interested in. So I feel like there's just a lot of clubs on campus that help provide extra opportunities to kind of see a direction to go once you're through all of your classes.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. That's a lot of outside activity. So glad you're still doing well in your classes.
Yeah.
So Jayneel, we started the eSearch program as part of our strategic education vision. It's actually been a huge success. And rather than have me explain what it is to everybody, maybe you can tell us about what eSearch is, what made you volunteer to be an eSearch mentor, and what kind of experience you saw as you've had, as well as results you've seen from it.
Oh, I have mentored with eSearch for I think over 4 quarters now, and it's been one of my best parts of the PhD. So eSearch really pairs PhD candidates with undergrads for a quarter-long research project, giving the undergrad a peek into graduate life while giving us, the graduate students, a flavor of what independent research advising really means. I got involved because I remember how difficult it was to break into research as an undergrad at my undergrad university, and how that one advisor or one mentor changes your career trajectory. So first of all, a big thank you to Alan Wakefield and Dean Corsi for making it all happen for us. And it's been amazing to not only tackle like real problems, and problems could be different than your own PhD work. So you get to like dabble in other projects that you want to work on. And also you can collaborate with other PhD candidates. I've seen a lot of students start very nervous, but gain a lot of confidence and traction on projects. I've seen undergraduates win fellowships and secure independent travel funds from conferences, so which is a really good quantifiable result for them. And there is travel and research funds provided by eSearch for devices that we want to work on, and also work at conferences. This allows us to explore new ideas and also present that work where it really matters. So this support truly makes a difference in shaping what really is the next gen of researchers. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jayneel. I think one of the great things about the eSearch program is that a lot of lower division students are signing up for it. And every year, we have this a couple of times per year. We have first year students that are signing up for it, trying to get their feet wet on research. And we don't have a lot of in the first year. Our students are taking a lot of chemistry and math and physics and general education courses. And this gives them an opportunity, I think, to continue to think and identify as an engineer during their first year. And one of the first year students that the first time we had this said to me when I talked to him at the symposium at the end that he was kind of disenchanted with engineering because he wasn't doing any engineering in his whole first year, and that this project got him through and got him excited about continuing in engineering. So it's important for attention of our students as well. Great. Jayneel, we're going to start with you on this one is for the first question, but the core value of the college's mission and vision, again, is this concept of engineering for all. And I wrap that up into socially responsible engineering. We don't want to leave anybody behind as we develop new technologies. We have to be thinking about, we don't want just wealthy people to be able to, right, to use this device, right? We need to develop cost accessible technologies. We need to think about engineering for all and all the engineering we do. And I was wondering if you could, especially in the context of what you do, can you tell us what engineering for all means to you?
Absolutely. Again, it is a commitment where we're building a future where, regardless of background and circumstance, everybody has the opportunity to contribute and benefit for advancing whatever tech that they want to work on and whatever can impact them. And I've read that Next Gen, the blog that we have, and I completely agree with the definition of diversity there. And I always like to emphasize to anybody I'm talking to about the diversity of problems. Individuals and groups from different circumstances face different sets of challenges that they are exposed to. So if we can reflect that in our innovations, we really stand a chance to serve everyone, break down long-standing barriers, and kind of create that inclusive future in the sciences that we talk about.
Yeah, thank you. That's really, really important. Really important. Want to talk a little bit about inspiration now. I've spent a lot of my career as a teacher trying to figure out how to inspire students, right? And and after many years of trying to figure that out, I realized, not everybody's inspired in the same way, that every student is different. And we really need to recognize that and try to inspire as much as we can in different ways for students, right? Because students are inspired in different ways. So Estaina, I'm going to ask you a tough question, I think, which is, what's the most inspiring lesson or the most inspirational experience you've had at UC Davis, and particularly in the College of Engineering? Hopefully it's in the College of Engineering, but at UC Davis.
Yeah, that is quite a rough question. There's so many lessons that come to mind. It's hard to pick one, but I'll pick two, as they're tied, I think. As I previously mentioned, I really think that like the community and the network that I found at the College of Engineering has been so not only inspiring, but motivational to continue going through like the hurdles that sometimes engineering throws at you and coming over forward and saying, I could, and I did do this. So first, I would say the support system and the resources available. And second, I think is that everyone's path is unique. Engineering is so broad and so expansive that you can do anything with engineering, and that quite literally means anything. I've found that I've switched my career goals every year. I'm like, I actually love this, but no, I still love this. So it doesn't have to be one thing that you can do with your major. It can be so many things come together. And I think that's really the beauty of engineering that UC Davis has taught me, that I don't necessarily have to only look into spacecrafts. I can look into what that means in a biomedical perspective, or I can look at what that means in in like a political institutional perspective or legislative challenges. It's so fascinating to see all these intersections come together. I think overall UC Davis taught me that I chose the right major for me, that I found like the passion that a lot of students sometimes are wondering, well, is like, what if this isn't, or what if this is, like, I feel like I've completely found that. And I'm so passionate in seeing what else I can do with engineering. So, long story
Yeah.
short, I love engineering.
And that's awesome. And I think that, you know, what you're finding as a student where you say, I'm now interested in this, I'm now interested in that, right? If you get a really great education as an engineering student, if you learn the fundamentals really well, when you graduate and you go off and take the first job in your career, you know, your journey, if you've got strong fundamentals as an engineer, can go in all sorts of different directions, right? You can pivot and say, I'm interested in this now. That happened to me during my career. I recently was contacted by a senator from staff from New Mexico, who is one of the few engineers at the national level. And, you know, he started as a mechanical engineer, and he decided to go into politics. And that, you know, in talking to him and his staff, is the engineering background, the foundation of knowing how to solve problems and understanding what possible solution sets are, right, really helped him in politics. So there's lots of different directions. You might not saying you're all going to become politicians, but there are different directions you can go, right? Once you leave, if you just remember your engineering skill set and use it. So, all right, Charlotte, what are your aspirations for impacting your communities after graduation? And how has the College of Engineering prepared you to reach your goals and making the impact that you want to make once you graduate?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with Estaina on the versatility of engineering. I think there's a lot of ways you can go about it. I think for me specifically, I found that doing work in the biomedical field really feels fulfilling to me. I feel like I'm really making an impact, and it's really cool to do research and work on projects and know that I'm working on improving the quality of life for people, and that I have the ability to work on things that are gonna have an impact on people's lives and just improving them in general, which I think is really cool. I think it's something that's nice to remember anytime my experiments aren't going the way I want them to, or classes are hard, or whatever it is. I think having a motivation like that feels really fulfilling and feels like I'm making a positive impact on the world helps me get through it and is nice to have in the back of my mind. I think after graduation, I'm planning to pursue a career in either medical devices or scientific instruments, or something that affects people in some way. And I think the College of Engineering has really helped me find what I wanted to do. I mean, as I mentioned, I changed my major, but I think being involved in research here and taking classes and figuring out what I'm interested in, if I like fluid mechanics or statics or whatever it is, combined with doing like more wet lab cell culture research, has kind of shown me that there are a lot of career paths, and I'm not totally sure exactly where I'll end up, whether it will be more on the like biological side with like cell culture or more mechanical with like medical devices. But I think the versatility, and I feel like I'm getting a really solid foundation with my education here. So I feel that I have the ability to go out and find something that feels fulfilling and feels like I'm making an impact in the world after I graduate.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned medical devices several times, so I have to say this, that we do have a new Masters of Engineering program that we're going to start in the fall on medical device development. It's through our biomedical engineering program. They had a huge number of applicants for their first class. It's going to be taught in Sacramento at Aggie Square. so that the students there can be connected to the School of Medicine. And it's a really intensive one-year program. The end result has to be that each student has to actually develop a prototype medical device to do something, right, to help people. The students will also be taking some courses in the Graduate School of Management at the same time to learn, to be thinking about, you know, hey, if I develop something really nice, how can I start a business around this, basically, a company around this? So this last question is for all of you, and then we're going to open up to questions from the audience. But you've got a number of alumni listening to you right now, a fair number of alumni. How can alumni support current students, and what kinds of connections would be most valuable for you personally? Except for, I guess, Jayneel, but I'll let you answer it too. But you're already graduated. But we'll start with Charlotte.
I think for me personally, based on the experiences I've had here that I think have felt the most impactful to me, I think any type of experience that helps me learn more about what career paths can look like post-grad is really helpful for me. Any chance I've had, like going to Penumbra and seeing what the engineers there were working on, and getting to talk to grad students in lab tours or just within the lab I work in, and seeing what opportunities there are and kind of what day-to-day life looks like, has been really helpful for me. I think just anything that gives me the opportunity to learn more about what things will look like once I graduate is really helpful, because I think I have a vague idea, but I know that actually being in the workforce will be very different than taking classes like I am right now.
Great. Thank you, Charlotte. Estaina?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think also being present, I think would be a better phrase. I've known that a lot of clubs bring their alumni, and it's always wonderful to hear from them. So I think following along with Charlotte's idea that just reminding us that what life looks like outside of college, because I think a lot of the times I only think of what I'm gonna do next quarter, next year. And I'd really love to know more about what you all did with the degree and what that meant for you. What was it like transitioning from that point in time of college to the workplace or higher education? I definitely think that would really be impactful for me.
That's great. And you already have several people putting information in the chat saying, contact me. I can talk about what it's like in the real world. That's fantastic. Thanks to all of them. And Jayneel, I know you're graduated, but maybe you have this perspective as a graduate student, sort of looking back on your education as to how you think alumni can support current graduate students.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually have stories to tell. I was an intern at Intel in 2022, just walking down the streets of Hillsborough at a farmer's market wearing a UC Davis sweatshirt. Somebody bumps into me, and that lady is Sarah Bly, 1979 or 1980 CS PhD alum. She was ex-Xerox PARC. And I get to have a coffee chat with her where she guides me through what I should be doing in my PhD from 2022 to 2024. That impact has been amazing for me. And the second thing is, my current manager at Intel is a CS PhD alum. So that alumni and student connect is very, very important. I feel that network is very important, because I think both Charlotte and Estaina both said that it demystifies the path ahead for us, and exposes us to really what we should aspire to achieve. Because what we have seen is very limited, I feel, as students. What else can we look at? And that alumni, any alum, like anything that they tell us, can really help us ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Jayneel. And so I think for all of our alumni that are on this Zoom meeting, I think what our students are saying is they'd like to talk to you more and find out more about your careers and your advice and what they have to look forward to when they get into the real world once they leave the university. I think that ends the questions that I have for our students on the panel, and we want to open this up now to our alumni or anybody else who's on the Zoom that would like to ask our students some questions. And Aaron, are you going to field these questions, or are they going into the chat, or?
Yes, yeah. I didn't get any questions through the course of our panel, so I don't know if that means that we have some folks who'd like to unmute and ask questions live. So
Yeah, I
if
can do that.
absolutely, please do.
All right. So specifically for those who did undergraduate research in UC Davis, at least when I was in UC Davis and I tried to do undergraduate research, I felt like it was rather kind of difficult because there was a lot of knowledge that I did not get from my classes. Maybe like I needed to wait like a quarter or two, maybe even a year, and then take necessary prerequisites before I actually do the research. So it sounds like, especially when y'all did research when you're in, third year or second year, maybe there was a lot of gaps in knowledge that you needed to fill in. So how were your advisors able to fill those gaps for you, or how did you seek resources in filling those gaps in knowledge? So if you needed to, in order to be successful in your research as an undergraduate.
Does anyone want to tackle that? Estaina or Charlotte? Estaina?
That is a really great question because I found myself asking that a lot of times when I first started researching. I knew I loved the idea of researching. I just wasn't sure where that meant. Our PI recommended a bunch of articles to read, and I found out about what the UC Davis Library really holds. I've always heard 10 million volumes. I didn't really know we meant 10 million volumes in print and online. Um, so I think the way I managed to fill in a lot of the knowledge that I hadn't received already through my upper division courses, or even in fields that I'm not in already, I'm not in, was through looking up research articles that were interesting to me and had that intersection as to what I was interested in. I got to learn so much about psychology and cognitive science through robotics and different test trials that they've done. So I think really finding those sources and reference articles of what that entails was enough for me to kind of grasp the knowledge, and then speak about it was most important, I think. Speaking with someone who was a professional in the field or did have the expertise to make sure that I was getting the concepts correctly.
Thank you, Estaina. And I mean, you talked before about how interdepartmental, collaborative sort of your opportunities have been. And so it's really wonderful to hear how that sort of has also been able to expand into just the personal research or the directions that you take that. And I love to hear that. Charlotte, not required, but if you had anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, kind of adding on to what Estaina said, I think when I first joined the lab, it was kind of overwhelming because I had some background in biology. I had taken a few bio classes. I had taken chemistry, organic chemistry, but I didn't really know anything about hematopoietic stem cells. It's a huge field. There's a ton of research, and I think sometimes it can be hard, especially when talking with Dr. Gilchrist. He has a PhD in this. He has been doing this for years. He has such a solid foundation of knowledge about this, and I knew nothing. But I think I took a similar approach. I read a lot of articles, especially my first year in the lab. We were still getting the lab set up, so I wasn't doing any cell work. I was just reading a lot. And I think that's been something that's been helpful for me, especially comparing that to the lab I was in for like 3 months the summer after my freshman year. Something I've learned throughout that is that each lab or each job or whatever it is has their own specialized knowledge that you kind of need to learn. And I think something I've gained from it is that just ability to learn these like specialized things you need to, because I don't think it's really possible to learn everything you need just in your classes, just because each company, each job, each project will have little bits of specialized knowledge that you need. But I feel more confident in my ability now to go into maybe a field I'm less familiar with, but I feel confident that I would be able to learn what I need to be successful in that field, which has been something nice to gain from research.
Wonderful. Thank you. Does anyone else want to unmute to ask a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I was speaking to Corsi, I think, on Monday, at eWeek with the pizza party or the pizza thing. And I was recommended to do e-search, so I applied yesterday, I think, or a day later, later in that day. And I'm just very curious on what I can do and how I could contribute to any kind of research or how I could expand my horizons with eSearch and other programs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do want to say that Daniel would not take any vegan pizza from me. So
Thank you, Dean Corsi. Jayneel, could you maybe share a little bit about like one of the eSearch projects that you did and maybe like how you met with the undergraduate student, how you guys decided on a project, and a little bit of like how that got started, maybe to give everyone a picture of what that eSearch project kind of looks like.
Absolutely. So in my experience, the research projects have been it's been a spectrum of things. I'm a CS PhD student, but I have worked with, students from civil engineering departments, electrical engineering, computer science, and material science at one point. So there is a spectrum there, and there's also a spectrum of what kind of projects you could work with me on, like as an research mentor, right? It could be something that I'm working on. It could be something that you are interested in. It could be something that we both find out together. So it's a very personal relation you will build with the mentor that you are matched with that allows you to explore that problem identification stage as well, because that's a very important part of research. Identifying what is a good problem, what is a good question to ask. And I feel that relation you'll create with that mentor during the research program is very important. And it's a very open space. So just, have an open mind on what to work on and know when to say no when you're not interested in something. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, hopefully that answers Daniel's question. So the eSearch program starts with getting to know all the PhD students that are in the program, and there's almost like a speed dating kind of an event where you get to rotate between the PhD students and talk to them and hear about what their interests are, and they get to hear about what your interests are. And from there, then there's sort of matchmaking in terms of who's going to work with who. And as Jayneel said, it's not necessarily a PhD student even in your own department that'll help mentor you, right? It can be somebody in a completely different department, and their job is to work with you and make sure that they help you with ownership of your project, and in a very condensed time frame, about 10 weeks, actually accomplish something that's meaningful and exciting. I wanted to say one more thing, and it's a little bit off topic, but this issue about engineering students working with students in other disciplines across campus, which I think is a really important part of the educational process. We have a student startup center in the College of Engineering that I think about 1,000 students per year go through this student startup center and participate in it in one form or another. It is in the College of Engineering, but 80% of the students are not engineering students. So this is a program in the College of Engineering where students from across campus come to the College of Engineering, and that doesn't happen very often. If anything, normally engineering students go to other places, and that's great for our students. It's an opportunity. It's part of our college that allows the rest of the university to come to us, and students from the rest of the university to interact with and collaborate with engineering students. It's one example of the way we do things to try to bring the world to us, as opposed to us always going out in the world, which is also a good thing. And I don't know if any of you have been involved with the Student Startup Center at all since you've been here. Charlotte, no, not yet. Okay, there's still time. Okay.
Next time we do a student panel, we will make sure we have someone from the Student Startup Center. It really is, it's really wonderful to hear folks talk about it too, because it is such a unique opportunity. And there's really cool stuff going on there. So I will actually, in just a moment, I will drop a link to that too, for folks to check out more info on that in the chat. But I think we have time for one more question. If anyone else from the audience has a question that they'd like to pose to our group here. Anybody? Oh, Scott?
Yeah, sure. I have actually a kind of a question slash comment, and kind of look forward to hearing what others may say. So I'm an alumni of UC Davis, the mechanical engineering department. But what I wanted to highlight is during my undergraduate days, I didn't get a chance to interact with industry much, if at all, if I recall. But I will say that I am proud to know and participate in today. I know there are various senior projects that do interact with industry. And today I'm involved in a project with the ME 185 design class where there's a group of students, there are 5 of them, and there's many of these projects, but there's 5 students that have joined together that work with our company, and they are spending 2 quarters to design and develop a product with us. And so they're getting the opportunity to interact with 4 engineers at my company and collaborate together to develop this product. And I think as the things we talked about today in terms of this interaction and understanding and exposure, I think is very valuable. And so I guess I wanted to throw that out there in terms of I think that's a great thing that UC Davis is doing to put these opportunities out there for the students. And if any of the panelists have participated in something similar or have thoughts on that.
Thank you, Scott.
I
Questions?
haven't had a chance to do senior design yet, which is the EME 185 class. Since I'm a 3rd year, I have to wait until next year, but I have a few friends who are in their 4th year right now and are going through it. And from what I've seen from that, it seems like really great industry experience. I've also been told by people in industry that having a project like that on your resume is really great for applying for jobs, because it demonstrates like this engineering ability and like familiarity with working on projects. So I think that is a really great opportunity that I'm looking forward to next year.
There's a question in the chat from Lena that says, for the students, where do you all see yourself in 5 years? I'm glad you didn't ask me that. So for our students, where do you all see yourselves in 5 years? Estaina? Putting you on the spot here.
No, of course. I just think how old I'd be in 5 years. My current fascination with engineering is the intersection of engineering and political science, specifically at like the international space policy level, and what that means in future lunar and space missions. So currently, I hope to see myself somewhere in that field. I know there's a lot of graduate schools that offer this very specific niche of my interest currently. And I definitely want to look into what that entails. And I think overall, I'd like to see myself in 5 years making a positive impact with engineering across the community. I'd like to see it advance some sort of technology or advance some sort of inspiration or motivational thing. I definitely want to do something amazing with engineering. So that's a very overview.
That's great. Charlotte or Jayneel? 5 years.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I know I want to end up going to grad school at some point. I think probably PhD, but I do want to take a few years to work in industry first and gain some of that experience and hopefully kind of solidify my interests. But I guess in 5 years, that will have given me time to graduate undergrad and work in industry, and then so hopefully be in the 1st year or going into a PhD program in maybe biomedical engineering, maybe mechanical engineering. That's to be decided still. But I think going into something that allows me to keep doing research, because I really enjoy the concept of like creating new knowledge beyond just learning things in my classes. So I'm hoping to be in grad school and be in a position to keep creating new knowledge to help the world.
That's great. Jayneel?
I mean, my 5-year plan is to either start up or join the academia, two very separate, like tangential directions, but eventually working on optical or photonic computing.
That's great. I mean, there's a lot. It seems like Intel spins those that work at Intel end up spinning off lots of new companies. So
That
you're
is
you're in kind of a hotbed for that happening, especially in Portland. Yeah. We have some comments in the chat too, saying, don't forget our great state environmental agencies and, working for government agencies as well, which is, can be a very, very, very rewarding career.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, at that, I think it is time for me to wrap us up on our formal panel. I'll give you all a few more announcements about upcoming events and tell you our raffle winners. And then for those of you who are sticking around for our breakout rooms, hang out. I've got a poll, so you can tell me which breakout room you'd like to join us in, and we'll get those all divided up and we'll have those chats as well. So Darian, if I could get my slide, thank you, you're so quick. So just really formally to say a warm thank you to each of our panelists and to Dean Corsi for sharing so much with us today. And thank you to our audience for your really wonderful questions. I know that I've learned a lot of new information today, and I hope that you all take some of that away as well. So we do hope that you will come to attend our upcoming events. If you'd like to support students and evaluate their projects, as Scott was sharing, we have the Engineering Design Showcase coming up in June for our senior design projects. Those are the really big ones. They're showing off the culmination of our senior standing students' work. But we also have Engineering 3 Intro to Design Showcase, and that's coming up on March 17th. And that is our lower division students who are taking an introduction class, and they also get to do a project and put on a showcase. And they're always looking for more alumni and industry professionals to come and evaluate those projects as well. So that's a really great opportunity to get involved. We also have a Dean's Distinguished Speaker coming up April 9th. That's Jayathi Y. Murthy, who's the president at Oregon State University. And so we invite you to join us for that. And for anyone who's planning to be on campus for Picnic Day on April 12th, we'll have the Engineering Alumni Lounge from 10 to 2 at the bomb shelter at the ESDC, which is right off of Boehner Hall. And Give Day happens that weekend as well, so an opportunity to support UC Davis and the College of Engineering through Give Day on that weekend. Do stay tuned for an announcement on our next Engineering on Tap, which will be in person in the Davis area. And for links to more information about all of this information, you can go to engineering.ucdavis.edu/alumni. We've got an events page, and you can get links and